morning, everyone.
Good morning.
My name is Yolanda Bolden. I'm the library director here with the Forsyth County Library System. And so glad that you all have joined us today for the announcement of our Artists in Residence program. This is our second year, excuse me, with the collaboration or the partnership with the Forsyth County Arts Council. And I will turn it over to our Assistant Library Director, Ann LaRosie, who will share more information about it. But thank you all for coming to support this program. We do appreciate your support.
Good morning, everyone. We are going to start off with a video that has been created that will maybe shed a little light and show you how exciting this program is. I'm Nan LaRosie. I'm the Assistant Library Director at the Forsyth County Public Library. The Artists in Residence program at the library is an opportunity for local artists to interact with our library community, people who use the library. This happens through formal and less formal interactions. They will be leading programs and maybe discussions. The artists will be working on their art projects at the library, including the creation of the work, but also research for the work. So the public will have a chance to interact with them in a less formal way. While they're at work, they can ask them questions about what they're doing, how they thought of these ideas, but it's a chance really to connect these two groups of people.
My name is Jasmine Huff, and I'm a resident artist at the Forsyth County Library. I have always wanted an artist in residency. It feels so prestigious, and like this. I feel like simply by having this title, my career is moving in a new place, and I love libraries. Libraries are the Central Library in particular was such an important part of my creative practice, particularly. Throughout my life, I've had different accesses to money and different jobs, and so the library is a place that you can always go for, interesting books on art, interesting materials. You get to meet new people, and so it just feels like the perfect place to grow myself creatively. And so yeah, I'm really honored to be chosen. And when I interviewed with them, they were so. They gave me amazing feedback. They loved my work. They were engaged in my work. It's very hard to get someone that's actually looking at your work well. So I'm really I know that the committee that chose these artists took it really seriously, who would be allowed to work with the public. And, I want to honor the offering they gave me. In addition to being an artist, I'm also a teacher. And so the part of this work that was most exciting to me was the fact that you get opportunities to engage with the public, to teach with the public. So having people see me as I work is actually more exciting, because I feel like it's hard to, a lot of people are very curious about film and video in particular, or curious about art in general, but not a lot of people have opportunities to study it. And so I feel like I'm giving people a chance to just kind of engage with their curiosity a little bit. And so the teacher in me is really delighted by that prospect. My name is Jasmine Huff, and I'm a resident artist at the Forsyth County Library.
My name is Katie Wolf, and I'm a visual artist based in Winston-Salem. And this year I'm an artist in residence for the Forsyth County Public Library. So art found its way into my life, I think, from a very early age. I was very lucky that both of my parents were creative people. My dad was a professional jazz trumpet player. My mom studied art history. So it was always part of my growing up. And so it just has followed me ever since. Every time I sort of have bat an eye about trying to do something else, it always comes back in as a priority that has to be a part of what I'm doing. So here I am. When I found out that I was selected as an artist in residence this year, I mean, it's just so rewarding as an artist and so gratifying to have other people look and appreciate at the work that you find important and meaningful, and to have that level of advocacy and that level of support, both in terms of space, material, exhibition, but also financially. It's just, what's better than that? So I'm grateful. To have the library's audiences as a new audience for me is really humbling and also exciting. To get to know different communities in town. We got to go to all of the different branches all across Forsyth County and meet the people that work there and get a sense of the vibe of each space, and they're really all different. And so to be able to interact with each of those communities and maybe have that those interactions influence the work that is made and ultimately exhibited could be really interesting. So I'm excited about that. My name is Katie Wolf, and I am an artist in residence for the Forsyth County Public Library.
An artist in residence program is something that we've had as an idea for several years now, and it just seemed like a natural fit here at the Forsyth County Public Library. This community has always honored and recognized and supported the arts, and our new libraries were built with creative spaces, and we really wanted a way to connect the artists in our community with the public that we reach. So through an ARPA grant, we were able to get 2 rounds of support for artists in residence programs. So 2023, we had our first artists in the program, and they were Yosemar Alvarez and Taja Cephas, and they couldn't be with us today, but they were our first ones. And so there was a lot of learning with them on the first go round. We had some ideas about how we would incorporate them in the library, and they had some ideas, and it was really good, but it was definitely a learning process on all sides. And now we are at the second round. In fact, the previous artists actually were on the committee that helped choose our current artists. We figured their experience was really valuable because they had a unique perspective on how it was to work with the library. We also, the second round, invited more library staff to be on it, on the committee, because they also had, I guess, learned a lot about how to interact with the artists and incorporate it into their program. So here we are. I'd like to introduce our artists for 2024, Jasmine Huff and Katie Wolf. We'll have them come up here.
What excites me most is that there are sort of 2 things competing in my mind. I really love that libraries are like a third space that the public gets to access. And as Katie said really well in her video, there's so many new audiences that you can reach for that reason. And I really want my work to help people learn more about the library itself, so I think there's some really great opportunities there. On the other hand, for me, the other competing thing is that I just really love getting to learn, and libraries are a great space to learn. So those are my reasons.
Totally agree with everything that Jasmine has said also. Getting to know these communities, having this kind of support for space and material and research and financial. But also, I also feel very strongly about libraries. My grandmother, my mom, my aunt were all librarians. My grandmother got her Library of Science degree in 1933. So it runs deep in my blood, and have spent a lot of time in these spaces, and it, I think, really reflects in the work that I make, which is ultimately about archives and memory. So it's for me personally, a perfect space that I feel really grateful to work with.
Yeah. So this question is for Jasmine. Jasmine, talk to us about how art found its way into your life.
So I am the child of artists. Both my parents, James and Ernestine Huff, were North Carolina artists, and so I've just always grown up knowing the love and joy that comes from art, and also the enrichment that other people get from art in artistic communities. My mom, on some level, it goes even further back. My mom is a child of 13, and almost all of them were artists. My grandfather was a landscape artist, so I have been sort of enriched with really beautiful experiences from an early age with art.
Can you repeat the question?
Yeah, so, and we talked about it in your video, it was about trying to find where did the art start in your family, and you captured it in the video, but please share that.
Of course, yes. So, same with Jasmine. Was very lucky that both of my parents were really creative people and supported the arts. My dad was a professional jazz trumpet player. He passed away when I was young, but that he took me to concerts, and art was always a part of of my household growing up. My mom studied art history, and she makes clothes and is a very, very creative person too. So it was always a part of my house growing up. It was very supported to study that, both in high school and in college. So yeah, I really credit my family and my parents specifically.
This question is for both of you. The coincidence that you're both teachers makes us kind of want to understand more about your teaching history and all of that. So maybe tell us about your teaching background.
Sure. So I work full-time at Ranolda House, Museum of American Art here in town. I'm the assistant to the executive director there, but I also teach at UNC School of the Arts as well. I have my undergraduate degree in studio art, but an MBA also, and so I teach arts management at School of the Arts. And it is just, it's so rewarding and so incredible to be able to support young artists, to learn about art business, personal finance, career development, things like this. They're so talented, and to get, I think, these really foundational building blocks to be a part of that in my teaching is one of the most rewarding things in the world.
Yeah, I told Katie that I feel like she does the Lord's work, she helps artists actually learn about money, help. My family history with art also intersects with a family history and education. So my dad taught art at Winston-Salem State and A&T. My mom would do community programs. My brother teaches law. He used to teach at Wake Forest. So the intersection of education and art was always important to me, that idea that everyone should have access, and that art is fundamental education that enriches other education that you're also getting. So my educational background, when I first learned filmmaking, when I was taking film studies classes at Salem, I was everyone should know, I just think media literacy is so interesting. There's we live in a visual culture. There's so much that you can know whether you're making it or not. So from then on, I was I want to teach. It was very clear to me that I wanted to both make and teach. I have taught documentary studies at the Duke Center for Documentary Studies. I've taught at Salem. I've taught at Northwestern. And every time I teach, I also get better as a maker. And so I just think it's it's so intertwined in my practice and my history.
So I think for artists, sometimes when we talk to artists, we hear them discussing kind of seeing what the end product is, and their work is connecting the dots to get there. I'm curious if you will have organized in your mind what the final product is for what you're going to create in your libraries.
That's a great question. How do you get from point A to point B? think it depends. I think for me, I will just speak for myself. I think that it depends on if you're making an individual piece of art versus for like an exhibition that has multiple pieces and has a story to tell and a statement to make. And so I think when you have the luxury of a space and resources to make a full exhibition, it's easier to sort of think about what you want to say and then make work to get to answer that question. Sort of like, you know, writing a paper. I think you might have a thesis and have points that you want to make along the way, and each work of art is like a paragraph in order to tell that story. And that's sort of the way that I think about it. And so I'm right now sort of finalizing like what do I want to say, and why do I want people to look at this, and why does it need to be here? And so that's how I'm sort of thinking about the work that will influence that.
Yeah, I really like that framework. I think, so my background's in documentary art, and when you make work that involves real people, and you start with your own idea, you box those people in and their experiences. So I'm trying to find space for discovery within sort of the time frame that we have. I sort of have more of a, like, it's more for me about coming up with the structure first, and then knowing that there's space for people to add things I don't know, so that I enjoy the process more when there's a little bit of surprise, and they have freedom and flexibility to enrich the experience with their own knowledge and expertise.
So I'll open it. Does anyone else have any questions? Okay. What can you, and Nan, this question may be for you, but will you speak to the schedule, the length of time that our artists in residence will be performing in these locations, and the schedule?
This residency lasts for 6 months. The way we sort of discussed it was that it's approximately 8 hours a week. Sometimes it's going to be more hours a week, sometimes it's probably going to be a little less. But that is the requirement we have for them. Last time, sometimes there was quite a bit more time spent in the library than that. And that is also to be divided between programming, preparing for the programs, research for the final exhibit, and whatever creation they make, and then also research. Certainly with the last group of artists that we had, I think when I talked about the informal interactions, a lot of it was during times of research and times when they're using the makerspace or places to make art, and people kind of wander up and they sort of have these hopefully not intimidating, very personal interactions with the artists. So we try to I check in with the artists and find out how the schedule's going, and but that is part of the expectation, is that there will be kind of formal time spent here at the library, and then more informal time where they can interact with the public that way.
Is there a schedule at this point?
We are just nailing down the program schedule. The first program is going to be a week from tomorrow in Kernersville. Katie's going to be doing a program out there, and I think Jasmine's schedule is wrapping up pretty soon. So, and we will be promoting those dates, but the first one is a week tomorrow.
We can't tell you where we're gonna be. So I am with Malloy Jordan, for the programs that I'm gonna have, we're gonna be at Malloy Jordan. We're both gonna be at Central. I'm gonna be at Clemens. Let me name all of them. Carver. Sorry, my brain. I I started this and then I forgot all the days.
I know, I was like, you're brave.
Yeah, I know, right?
We can send, I have a finalized list of.
Yeah.
But we're basically at 5 plus Central.
Yes.
And it will be on our website, and it will also go on our monitors too. Once all their schedules are firmed up, we'll have that with some web stories, so we'll have some information on
I do have one question of each of you. You're not brand new, or you guys have been at this for a while. Young, but you're not new. So I'd love to hear you talk about a piece that, whether it's film, whether it's live, or that you think you're really most proud of. The thing that really you feel like is just the best, some of the best work you've done so far. Obviously, the best is yet to come. The best so far, I just love to hear you describe it, because I suspect you're passionate about it.
I will mention 2. With photography and filmmaking, the line is like, sometimes the storytelling is great, but the execution isn't your favorite. Or like there's place technically you grow, and then sometimes it switches. So I think the area where I was able to hit that sweet spot, I did a photo series for an artist here named Nanette Davis. She had jewelry that she sent to New York Fashion Week. So we did a photo series with different models and the pieces. And so part of what we were exploring was that intersection between like beauty and strength and courage. And so I really love the personality I was able to capture from the models that we had. The second piece is a short documentary I made about my father in grad school as he was recovering from his stroke. I was a student in grad school, so there are things technically I would have wanted to do differently. But I think I was able to capture his story pretty well. I had him watch it and he went, he never met him, so, but he made this weird scrunched up dad face. And he went, I look good. So I think it went well.
The first piece that comes to mind is, so the work that I make, I'm really interested in our memories and how ultimately they are problematic. We don't always remember correctly, and how reliable are they? And so I'm really interested in archives because these are very, very specific places where we preserve memory. And so how reliable are they? Who gets to decide? Things like this. I'm interested in archives like here at the library, but also personal archives, your family's photo album, and things like that. And so I got all of my great-grandfather's slide collection. And so you probably saw in the video I was working with these slides. I never knew my great-grandfather. He died long before I was born. But I am using his slide collection in collages that I'm making, and going through his archive and his memories has really helped me get to know him really well. Sometimes his fingerprints are still on the slides themselves. His handwriting is on them. And I am expecting my first child due in January, and so I'm really thoughtful about family history and the family line and how it all ties together. And so the work that has come out of this collaboration with my great-grandfather has been really personally rewarding.
Great, thank you all.
Okay, so Nan said that they picked us because there was like a relationship with that, like we have similar themes that we might be interested in. So, fun fact, my grandma's 105. So I think about like lineage a lot. They're still on the land that they had like 80 years. I have like all like my parents had a newsletter that they would make, and so they had to like, it was like this old zine style. They like glue things together and have to photocopy it. So I like have all that stuff. I am too precious with that stuff. Like, the thing about photography is you can keep it perfect. But you're willing to rip things in half. Like, how do you do that?
Well, at this point, I'm also very precious with these materials. They're all reproductions that I'm working with, yeah. So I am also like sort of obsessed with cataloging all of these materials, my family photos, these slides. And so I have scanned them for digital copies. And so sort of reprinted, I'm really interested in like all of these, in the maker spaces here, we have these amazing printers that we can use, blowing them up and seeing what they look like in different scales. So I'm not using the original.
I know that, but there's like, it's still that image of that person.
Yes, yeah. So, the copies of the copies even that we have in our own heads too, is sort of what I'm thinking about too. So, don't get me started.